understand. You see, this is the family hour, and there's 50 million people watching this show.
50 million people? How you know that?
How'd I know? It's plain, 'cause I'm on your show.
A Hollywood legend once said Lola Falana was just some dancing girl. That legend was Frank Sinatra, and their backstage fight was so explosive it was caught on tape. But that wasn't even her biggest scandal. She broke up Sammy Davis Jr.'s marriage, was physically attacked by a TV star, and had her money stolen by Vegas mobsters. Then she vanished from showbiz completely, claiming God healed her incurable disease. Now, at 83, she looks nothing like the woman who once graced Playboy covers. The transformation will leave you speechless. Lola Falana was born on September 11, 1942, in Camden, New Jersey. Her full name was Loletha Elaine Falana, and she was the third of 6 children in a tiny home where everyone struggled just to get by. Her father, Bennett, had left Cuba and joined the U.S. Marines, later becoming a shipyard welder. He came home every day tired and tense. Her mother, Cleo, worked hard as a seamstress, often sewing until late at night just to put food on the table. All the children shared one small bedroom, and little Lola had to sleep on the floor. Even with so little, Lola would dance around the room, using music as her escape before she even turned 4. In 1952, when she was 9, the family moved to Philadelphia, hoping life would get easier. But they found themselves facing a different kind of hardship. The city was filled with segregation and racism, and it made life just as hard, if not worse. But Lola's parents still saved enough to enroll her in dance classes at a local studio. She studied jazz, ballet, tap, Afro-Cuban dance, and more. By the time she was 12, she was teaching other kids just to earn a little extra for her family. She snuck into nightclubs to watch white performers, memorizing their steps and practicing them at home in secret. When she found clubs that allowed black entertainers, she started performing there, sometimes with her mother standing in the back to keep her safe. During summers, she worked as a hairdresser in Atlantic City, always finding ways to improve her skills while bringing home some money. In 1958, just months before she was supposed to graduate from Germantown High School, 16-year-old Lola shocked her family by dropping out. She only had $5 in her pocket, but she packed her bag and took a bus to New York City, chasing a dream nobody else could see. The city was brutal. She had no place to stay, so she slept in subway stations and rode trains all night just to stay warm. She washed dishes, cleaned toilets, and even let shady photographers take pictures, just hoping one of them would help her break through. Some nights she went to bed crying on a cold bench, wondering if it was all a mistake, but she refused to go back home. That same year, she got a lucky break. Blues legend Dinah Washington was performing in Philadelphia. Lola somehow got backstage and begged for a chance. Dinah gave her one shot that same night. But during the performance, the strap on Lola's homemade costume broke. Instead of running off in shame, she bit down on the strap with her teeth and danced through 16 perfect jetés. The crowd went wild. Dinah was so impressed, she hired Lola on the spot for $10 a night. That gig pushed her into Harlem's nightclub scene, but it came with a price. The clubs were filled with danger, especially for young black dancers. Many were pressured to wear less and do more, just to earn tips from drunk men. Some of the clubs were linked to crime and gambling. Lola kept dancing, but there were nights she had nowhere to sleep but the train again. She started going by Lola, after the femme fatale character from the Broadway show Damn Yankees. The name stuck. She performed across Manhattan's underground clubs, building a reputation even while sleeping in subway stations and carrying just $26 in her purse. She never stopped. And in 1964, when she was 22, everything changed. Sammy Davis Jr. saw her performing in a chorus line in Atlantic City during a show with Dinah Washington. He couldn't take his eyes off her. That same year, he cast her in the Broadway musical Golden Boy as his love interest. It was a bold and controversial move. Their kiss on stage caused shockwaves. Some called it beautiful, others called it a scandal. The country was still raw with racism, but the critics noticed Lola. One British paper called her the Golden Girl of Golden Boy and said she was absolutely electric. The show faced rough times, though. When Robert Kennedy was assassinated in June 1968, Sammy broke down in the middle of a London performance, walked off stage in his boxing trunks, and said he couldn't go on. He told the crowd that his heart was in America with Bobby Kennedy. Lola was there, caught in all of it. In 1965, she signed with Mercury Records and released her first single, My Baby. It didn't top the charts, but it showed her talent as more than just a dancer. Yet the record label didn't treat her fairly. They told her to change her hair, her look, even her skin tone in photos. They only promoted her to black radio stations and said she wasn't marketable because she was both Cuban and African American. She pushed through, proving herself again and again. Later, she would be signed by Frank Sinatra's label Reprise, showing that her talent was bigger than the barriers put in her way. The early pain she faced in the music industry would later turn her into a voice for other performers facing the same treatment. In 1966 and 1967, she found success in a completely different place, Italy. She became a sensation on the variety show Sabato Sera, dazzling European audiences with her voice and dancing. Italian fans fell in love with her, and it opened the doors to movies. In 1967, she starred in Lola Colt, a spaghetti western where she played a gun-slinging lead. She was nicknamed the Black Venus by the Italian press. It was rare for a black woman to have such a big role in European cinema at the time, but Lola made it happen. In 1975, the lights of Broadway were glowing with hope when Dr. Jazz opened at the Winter Garden Theater. Lola Falana was the star. She played Edna Mae Sheridan, and her performance was so powerful she got nominated for a Tony. The show had a big team behind it, including the famous choreographer Donald McKayle. Everyone expected it to be a hit, but it wasn't. The show collapsed just 5 days after it officially opened. Critics praised Lola, but tore apart the script and lyrics. Even though she won a Theatre World Award, the pain was real. Investors lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the show disappeared almost as quickly as it came. But Lola didn't fall with it. Her fire stayed lit. That same fire had caught the world's attention back in 1968. Lola had already made waves in London when she starred in Golden Boy. Reviewers in the West End said she was mesmerizing, even comparing her to Chita Rivera. But the spotlight wasn't just on stage. Off stage, she began a romance with her co-star, Sammy Davis Jr. That love affair set off a public storm. Sammy was married to Mae Britt, and when he confessed to her, the press went wild. Their marriage ended in divorce. The drama spilled onto the stage when a private investigator walked straight into a live performance to hand Sammy a court summons for unpaid shopping bills. But none of it shook Lola's momentum. Her career kept climbing. By the mid-1970s, Lola wasn't just famous. She was legendary. She became the highest-paid female performer in Las Vegas, earning $100,000 a week at the Aladdin. That's nearly $500,000 in today's money. Her shows ran for 20 weeks every year. Each one was a spectacle with full orchestras, glamorous costumes, and jaw-dropping choreography. People called her the First Lady of Las Vegas. But behind the curtain, Lola was battling something no one could see. She had crippling stage fright. Sometimes it got so bad, she nearly walked away from everything. Sammy Davis Jr. would give her pep talks backstage just to get her through it. Her rituals became sacred, small things that kept her standing. She used the money to buy her first home and gain freedom. But the weight of being Vegas royalty left scars that lasted for years. Then came the night everything changed on TV. Lola went on The Tonight Show while she was still headlining at the Aladdin. Instead of small talk, she spoke her truth. She talked about racism in the industry. Johnny Carson, the host, didn't like it. His discomfort showed on his face. But there was more to it. Lola was friends with Wayne Newton, who had just outbid Carson to buy the Aladdin Hotel. The two men hated each other. Carson never forgave it, and anyone linked to Newton paid the price. After that episode, Lola stopped getting invited to The Tonight Show. Some say she was blacklisted quietly. That silence on national television hurt her exposure badly. She had to rely on live shows and smaller programs just to stay visible. From 1970 to 1980, Lola's star burned brighter than ever. Her shows were pulling in massive crowds. She wore outfits designed by Bob Mackie, some costing $50,000 each. She had a team of 20 dancers performing moves as sharp as any Broadway act. Her shows brought in millions. She performed not only at the Aladdin, but also at the Sands, the Riviera, and the MGM Grand. Her act blended elegance with boldness. It pushed boundaries. The cost to run it all was over $2 million a year, but every dollar paid off. Tourists built their vacations around seeing her. She was the main event. But there was one act that caused an uproar. She had a number where she'd rise from a giant champagne glass, wearing only sequins and feathers. Every night, 2,000 fans screamed. Tickets sold out fast. Scalpers charged $200 for a $25 seat. But not everyone clapped. In 1974, feminist groups started protesting outside the Aladdin. Their signs said things like, "Lola, talent, not titillation." They said she was being used. The act was physically demanding. Lola had to hold her breath for 45 seconds underwater before appearing. Her hair, makeup, timing, everything had to be perfect. Casino bosses called it art. But private memos revealed they were scared. By 1976, they had quietly changed the costumes to avoid being shut down for indecency. In 1975, something new happened. Her show at the Aladdin was renamed simply Lola. She became the first black woman in Vegas to have a residency named after her. It was history. But behind the name and glitter, something darker was happening. The casino was being run by men with mob ties. They began skimming her earnings. Almost 30% of her $100,000 weekly paycheck vanished into fake expenses and forged receipts. She found out. She stormed into the owner's office and threatened to go public. She even hired private investigators who found over $500,000 in missing money. There were tapes, but they vanished. Even with legal threats flying, she kept performing. What people didn't know was she was secretly working with the FBI, helping expose how deep the mafia was buried in Vegas entertainment. But the truth never fully came out. Not yet. Then came 1978. Lola was set to perform with Frank Sinatra at the MGM Grand. It should have been a moment of pride. Instead, it became war. Sinatra cut her set down to just 15 minutes. He told people, "They came to see me, not some dancing girl." But Lola wasn't quiet. Backstage, she confronted him. She screamed, "You're a washed-up has-been trying to steal thunder from real talent." A sound technician caught the whole thing on tape, but the public never heard it. Sinatra's team claimed they were protecting the show's style, but insiders knew it was jealousy. The feud didn't end that night. For months, they refused to be seen at the same events. Eventually, casino bosses had to pick sides. Most stayed loyal to Sinatra. Lola, even at her peak, had to fight alone. Lola Falana was once one of the most dazzling stars in show business. She had the voice, the moves, and the charisma that made her unforgettable. But behind the glitter and fame, her story was filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and secrets Hollywood tried to hide. And one of the most shocking was her ban from The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Many people believed it was because of something inappropriate backstage, but the truth was much darker. It had nothing to do with her at all. The real reason was a brutal feud between Carson and Lola's close friend, Wayne Newton. Things got ugly in 1979 when Newton beat Carson in a bid to buy the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. Carson was furious. He already had a history of mocking Newton on air, making jokes about his masculinity. But after losing the hotel deal, things exploded. Newton stormed into Carson's office and told him to stop. After that confrontation, Carson never forgave him. And because Lola often performed at the Aladdin and stayed loyal to Newton, Carson punished her too. He quietly banned her from ever appearing on his show again. This wasn't just a temporary freeze, it was permanent. She joined a tiny group of people blacklisted by Carson, including Barbra Streisand and Charles Grodin. Her talent didn't matter. Her success didn't matter. She had picked the wrong friend, and that was enough to kill her appearances. But Lola wasn't just a TV guest. In 1975, she made history. That year, she became the first black woman to represent Fabergé's Tigress perfume. This wasn't a small thing. She was the first black woman to model for a major beauty brand that wasn't just targeting black consumers. It was a huge step forward in a time when racial barriers were everywhere, especially in advertising. Her campaign was powerful, so powerful that she won a Keel-I-O award for it, one of the highest honors in advertising. The New York Times covered it in July 1975 and pointed out how Fabergé had just signed Margot Hemingway and was now choosing Lola too. It felt like things were changing, even though there were rumors that some southern stores pushed back and some ads were pulled. No official reports could prove it. Still, given the racial climate of that era, it wouldn't be surprising. While she was breaking records on TV and in beauty campaigns, her personal life was falling apart. In 1970, Lola married Feliciano "Butch" Tavares Jr., a singer from the R&B group Tavares. They looked like the perfect couple, especially with Lola earning a stunning $100,000 a week for her Las Vegas shows. But the marriage was crumbling behind closed doors. By 1975, everything had collapsed. Butch had been cheating on her while on tour, and it wasn't just rumors. He had fathered a son with another woman named Lizzie. Lola didn't find out through a confession. She learned the truth through whispers, backstage chatter, and the cruel gossip that spreads fast in showbiz. It was a public embarrassment that hit during the peak of her career. But this wasn't her first heartbreak. Before Butch, there was Sammy Davis Jr. in 1964. He cast her in his Broadway musical Golden Boy. By 1965, they were lovers. He was her mentor, but also the man who would bring chaos into her life. Their affair lasted until 1968 and completely destroyed Sammy's marriage to Mae Britt. He even bought Lola a $50,000 diamond ring, which would be worth more than $400,000 today. Everyone in the industry knew what was going on, but by 1969, she had enough. She told TV Guide that she was tired of being seen as just the little dancer with Sammy Davis Jr. Their breakup ended both their personal and professional relationship. Years later, when money ran low, she had to pawn that same ring. It was a sad ending to a love story that had once looked like a fairy tale. Then came Michael Cole. In the mid-1970s, Lola quietly dated the Mod Squad actor. But what started as a secret romance turned into something far more dangerous. One night at his Beverly Hills home, they had a terrible fight. He wanted her to quit show business and become a full-time wife. She refused. He snapped. The argument turned violent. He hit her. She was left bruised and shaken. She needed medical attention. She filed a restraining order. But the story never made it to the headlines. Studio executives stepped in to protect Cole's clean image. The police report was conveniently lost. Reporters were paid off, and Lola was left to carry the pain in silence. That night changed everything. She never fully trusted another relationship again. But the deepest wound of all came in 1972. During her marriage to Butch, Lola got pregnant. She was thrilled. Even with her demanding career, she dreamed of being a mother. But one night, after a grueling performance in Las Vegas, something went wrong. She collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. She was 3 months pregnant. And just like that, the baby was gone. She never spoke publicly about it until 1980, when she finally shared the secret. She blamed herself. She thought maybe the dancing, the pressure, the long nights had caused the loss. She fell into a deep depression. She went to therapy. She questioned everything. And in the end, she made a heartbreaking decision. She would never try again. The pain was too much. She said she couldn't survive losing another child. In December 1987, just after she taped a Motown Christmas special with Red Fox, something terrifying happened to Lola Falana. She got out of bed and collapsed to the floor. Then it happened again, and again. She fell 5 times in a row and couldn't understand why. Her left side had stopped working. Her vision blurred, her voice was weak, and her hearing was fading. She was only 45 years old. That same month, doctors told her she had multiple sclerosis. It hit her fast and hard. Her manager had to cancel nearly $2 million worth of nightclub and concert shows. This wasn't just any performer. Lola had been voted Female Performer of the Year and had become one of the highest-paid stars in Las Vegas. But now she was lying in bed, barely able to move, writing to fans instead of performing for them. She later said, "What a difference a day makes. One day I'm standing tall and listening to applause, and the next day I'm a cripple lying in bed." Instead of taking regular medical treatments, Lola made a different choice. She put her trust in prayer. She believed God would heal her. She described one night in November 1987 when she felt a strange warmth move down her neck and into her arm. Her throat had been paralyzed, but suddenly she could feel something again. She said it was the Lord healing her. She refused to use canes or crutches. She told reporters she'd rather crawl than use those. Some people supported her, but others were angry. A fellow MS patient even wrote to the LA Times saying Lola had no right to make it seem like faith was the only cure, and that others weren't spiritual enough just because they still needed medical help. Doctors warned that avoiding walking aids could lead to broken bones. But Lola didn't change her mind. The disease didn't just take her health, it took her money too. Her medical bills crossed $500,000. She had to sell her jewelry to pay for treatments. The Las Vegas contracts that once brought in millions were gone. She couldn't perform her dance-heavy shows anymore. During her recovery, she stayed at Brenda and Lionel Richie's house because she couldn't afford her own care. Even though she was depending on prayer, she still needed physical therapy and exercise machines, bikes, weights, treadmills, trampolines. All of it added to the cost. Her manager was trying to file insurance claims while protecting her public image, but everything felt like it was falling apart. In February 1989, the disease came back even stronger. She lost 40 pounds and spent months stuck in bed. She became so thin and frail that tabloids started saying she had died. People who hadn't seen her in months believed it. Lola had to appear in public just to prove she was still alive. This time, she wasn't just sick. She was alone. Many of her friends from Hollywood stopped calling. Invitations stopped coming. She felt abandoned. Those who did visit were shocked by how much weight she had lost. She later said this was the hardest period of her life. Her faith was tested more than ever. She had to fight not just the disease, but the heartbreak of being forgotten. That same year, she began saying something that caused even more outrage. She called multiple sclerosis a demonic illness. After converting to Catholicism in 1988, she believed the disease was spiritual in nature, not just physical. She told audiences that she didn't heal through medicine, but through spiritual battles. She started a religious group called the Lambs of God Ministry. In her speeches, she said things like, "I got a guy who can walk on water," and "Don't call me a star." But her new beliefs made doctors furious. They said she was giving people false hope. The MS community said she might be keeping others from seeking the care they really needed. Lola told stories about meeting Jesus, seeing heaven, and speaking with angels. For some, it was inspiring. For others, it was dangerous. Her full conversion happened in 1988, after that intense night, where she said she felt the Lord healing her. That's when she gave her life completely to faith. She said she had visions. Jesus, Mary, her guardian angel, even a glimpse of heaven. It changed everything. She no longer wanted fame or attention. By 1990, she had officially launched her ministry and never looked back. She proved how serious she was in the most dramatic way. She burned all her Las Vegas costumes. These weren't just clothes. They were custom-made gowns by Bob Mackie, the same designer who dressed Cher and Diana Ross. They were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. She threw them in a fire and watched them burn. She said, "I am not a star." That act ended her friendship with Sammy Davis Jr., her mentor. People in the industry were shocked. They couldn't believe she had turned her back on everything she had built. But for Lola, it wasn't just about clothes, it was about shedding the old life completely. As her ministry grew, it took on a strange style. Her speeches were part sermon, part life story. She used simple language, telling people to choose your daddy when talking about God. And she made audiences give each other huggy poos as a sign of Christian love. Critics called it bizarre. Some said it felt more like a performance than real faith, but others loved it. Her church visits would bring in crowds of 900 or more. Some places collected up to $2,000 in donations when she came. Her childlike way of preaching pushed some traditional Catholics away, but it pulled in others who were looking for something real and emotional. In 1995, she told the world something she had kept secret her whole life. She revealed in her autobiography that she had been sexually abused as a child. It was something she had hidden for decades, afraid it would ruin her image. But now, she was ready to share it. The revelation made people understand her in a new way. It explained why her spiritual journey was so deep and why she had turned away from the entertainment industry. For someone once known as the Black Venus and a Playboy cover star, this confession showed a side of her no one had seen. It also helped explain her later vow of celibacy and her desire to focus on faith instead of fame. By the year 2000, she had fully left behind her old life. She no longer had agents or big contracts. She flew coach, stayed in church rectories, and earned as little as $50 for a speaking gig. Sometimes $2,000 if it was a big church. She didn't demand anything. She said she waited for invitations and prayed before accepting them. Her last public performance happened in Christmas 1997, singing carols with Wayne Newton in Branson, Missouri. She believed her celibacy and complete trust in God were the reasons her health had improved. She said, "I learned to depend on Him in my illness. I'm certain He will continue to provide for me now." She lived like a nun, but she still believed she was doing what she was meant to do. In September 2025, Lola Falana turned 83. She never returned to the spotlight, but her story never faded. After being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1987, she said her recovery was a miracle. She officially converted to Catholicism on Christmas Day in 1991 at a Carmelite monastery. In 2002, she launched the Lambs of God ministry to help AIDS orphans in sub-Saharan Africa. Her group partnered with Save Sub-Saharan Orphans to give those children shelter, medicine, and education. She appeared on the Praise the Lord show in 2003, talking about her faith and her work. She said her conversion had been triggered by seeing a video that showed stigmata and having a vision of the Virgin Mary. By 2024, her estimated net worth was still $10 million, even though she hadn't performed in decades. She had once been the Queen of Vegas, but now she was something else entirely, something far more lasting.